All of you, good afternoon. Online, offline. What's the conversation, Anugya? क्या पेपर लिखना है लेजी होकर? क्या पेपर लिख रहे हो? कहाँ लिख रहे हो पेपर? हेलो पूजा, सुनील, जय गीता. Yeah, nice. You guys log in and have a nice blast of conversation amongst yourself. But I lost the context. Oh, you probably were having some fun at my expense. Okay, okay, ठीक है. Okay, just a reminder for all of you, as a part of the NCRT thing on the Telegram, for this week, I have asked to finish synopsis of class 11th physical geography book, which is Fundamentals of Physical Geography. Fundamentals of Physical Geography. This is class 11th book. And those who have finished these topics of climatology, oceanography and geomorphology, आप तो वो पक्का करो. And those who haven't done these topics of NCRT do not require that background to do this. If you have done it, it would help you, of course, because this is one challenge in GS geography. GS geography, unlike other GS topics, even economy for that matter, for technical hai. And there are some concepts, some terms. If you do not know that, then NCRT is also tricky. But I'll suggest fight marlo. And I've given you 10 days time. That's a lot of time. You can submit your summaries by, I think, Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, the coming Wednesday, next week. You have got good almost 9-10 days, 11 days aapke paas hai. Do this, okay? These are those essentials which, it's something like, nobody will say important nahi hai. And I repeat, very, very few people do this. And I demonstrated last prelims mein 3 questions, ekdam line by line is taken from NCRTs in geography itself. Yeah, submission date is 16th July. I don't remember what day is that. I think Wednesday ही है Surya. Okay, so I'll recommend all of you. Okay, geography optional मेरे साथ में है और समझ में आए नहीं आए. Okay, see this is a very convenient excuse. कि सर समझ में नहीं आ रहा. मैं कोई बात नहीं, फिर भी लिख डालो. समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि मतलब यही होगा ना, कोई इंपॉर्टेंट कंसेप्ट ही होगा. That's it, copy it down. Okay, and in time समझ में आएगा. ठीक है? So all of you, I'll request, and these kind of work cannot happen in your regular study time. ये सब pending work है. You have to squeeze out additional 2-3 hours, okay, maybe once in 2 days or whatever. और बहुत intense काम करो. It's not something that you can keep lingering for a long time. Okay, so my request to all of you, 16th of July, check karo, what day is that? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday? Okay, yes. This is Wednesday. Okay. This NCRT book, people ask me old edition, new edition, any edition, जो मन करे आपके हाथ में आ जाए. Submit it. Go on the website. There is a link there, and all these corrections we are taking a contributory from you, ₹21. Okay, ये पैसे मैं कमा के एक दो घर खरीदना सोच रहा हूं मैं. Okay, so help me buy my house. Like, in fact, I want to buy a car also for that matter. So I will do that also. Okay? So these contributions essentially is just to make sure that you guys are committed. Hopefully आप पैसे का वैल्यू समझते हैं थोड़ा बहुत, तो कमिटमेंट होती है कि हाँ हम करके देंगे, and we'll give you our feedbacks. And the top 3, 4, 5 of you submit. You also will share the summaries amongst you. ठीक है? 2 chapters I haven't done. कोई बात नहीं, फिर भी देख के पढ़ो. जब भी doubt हो ना कि can I do this, not do this, remind yourself. These are school books. Class 11 school book. कितना tough हो जाएगा? Unless it is physics, calculus अलग बात है. Otherwise, this is not tricky topics. Okay, and don't waste time in searching and understanding right now. Okay, it's again a trap. मैंने एक sentence पढ़ा, समझ में नहीं आया. Okay, then I start searching on the net. Okay, so what happens that searching takes time, and you don't have a sense of progress. Okay, अभी हम चाहेंगे कि आपको progress हो. In your list of must do, tick it off. कि हाँ, this is done. This is done. Not done very well, कोई बात नहीं. But do it. Okay, so this is your. Am I audible to all of you? Now it's fine. Network issues. Okay, so please manage that. Okay. So I'm just telling you, there's some of you asking about answer writing. Answer writing, if you have not done anything substantial in coverage, वो अभी time नहीं है. And those who have been writing, you can go on. In fact, on Telegram group again, I've started the answer writing for geography also. I'm not giving any comments for some more days. आप पहले लिखो तो सही. Okay, write something, 10, 15 answers. I'll pitch in thereafter. But आप लिखते रहो. What I'm doing is for every question, I'm giving model answers also. देख के लिखो, copy करो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Okay, copy करो, maybe modify a bit, draw some diagrams, improvise the answer if you think अगर improvise कर सकते हैं. Sir, I cannot think of how to improvise. फिर वही copy कर लो. Okay, some writing must start off. Refer क्या, तनिष्क? पूरा copy कर लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. In past 1 month, you have written 45 answers. You are scaring me, Atul. Okay, you should have written 2, 3, 4, taken some inputs maybe, okay, and then moved on. But कोई बात नहीं. नहीं, share where मत करो ऐसे. Sometime you can come over and show it to me maybe, or once in a while you can post it. But don't give me a dump of 45 answers. Yes, absolutely, Shweta. Absolutely. Okay, Kakash, finish off. I shared the link with the Telegram also. Okay, so this is your work. Wednesday, I'll keep reminding you. Okay, geography is my domain. So I want कि geography कम से कम मेरे साथ में कर लो. बाकी आप you won't blame me for geography at least. बाकी आप देखें. Okay, come back to geographical thought. So we have started with the debates in geography. One early debate was physical versus human geography. It's not a very difficult debate. Initial में it was an issue. Should geography study physical geography? Physical geography means all the natural aspects excluding man. Okay. The rivers, the mountains, the climate, the forests, okay, the landforms, okay, rocks. Human geography is you are including man. The debate tha, and while some geographers or some contributors were more biased towards this, okay, or they did more of this, most of them did not dismiss this. Example of that was, remember Varenius? He was more in favor of this, but he also included human. In fact, this also is a story of Humboldt also. Humboldt never said the dichotomy between them, but he said कि मैं ये पढ़ रहा हूँ, I'm doing this. Maybe he enjoyed doing this, whatever reasons. You find more contributions here. Okay, but there were some geographers who were very staunch about human geography नहीं होना चाहिए geography में. And we mentioned 2 names, Oscar Peschel and George Gerland, 1870s, after Humboldt and Ritter. These two were the most vociferous one, and their argument was same as Varenius' argument. Difference is Varenius was not comfortable with human geography, but he still added it. George Gerland and Oscar Peschel, okay, they completely removed human geography from geography. Okay. Otherwise, we don't have examples where scholars have removed this. Eventually, all agreed, geography must include both. The degrees can vary, the methods and the priorities can be different for different type of studies, but almost there is universal acceptance now that geography has to include human aspects also. So we trace it back to what Eratosthenes said. Okay, that geography is study of earth as home of man. अब home of man में man कैसे हटा दोगे आप? Right. And the way Ritter also defines geography, Arkunde. Geography is Arkunde. Okay, the details of earth in terms of nature and in terms of the history of man. Okay, so this dichotomy was resolved. Here, physical versus human is not a good debate, and geography must have both. Okay, just as a sequential, you should know the name of some contributors, and remember the good part is exam में आपको लिखना है 1.5 page. That's all. Okay, you don't need the entire 10 pages of write-up. In fact, you can try this. Go back to your room, and as a part of your exercise, see if physical versus human you can compress into 1 page or not. 1 page like an answer or not. Yeah, so those sheet summarization will help you. Okay? क्या था रोहित? I missed your point. You have that's a bias I have. Anyways, Rohit is asking me, when we make synopsis, should we make synopsis in the same notebook or make synopsis in separate sheets? It's a okay. I'll tell you my mind here. एक तो I can't understand or I can't accept the fact that all of you are writing in notebooks. Okay, notebooks is very fixed, very static. Notebooks you can't modify. Okay, and my wisdom is synopsis हो या इस level में, school ठीक है समझ में आता है, इस level में all your notes must be in papers. Write in papers, okay, modify, rectify, add, delete. And once you think the content is consolidated, then you spiral bind it. Okay. Usme you can add things, and I would always have folders. You know those होते ना hole punch कर देते हैं, and I put the paper inside that. When I revise, I realize कि ये page important नहीं है, फेंक दो इसको. या फिर ये दो पेज को मिला के एक पेज बना दो. और some current affairs come up, jottings, उसमें ऐड कर दो फाइल के अंदर में. तो इन जनरल नोटबुक इज समथिंग आई डोंट लाइक एट ऑल, पर ठीक है आप लोग कर रहे हैं. वन कॉमन रीजन गिवन टू मी, सर पेपर खो जाता है. ये मुझे कभी समझ में नहीं आया. अगर पेपर में एफर्ट, खून पसीना, टाइम गया है तो मजाल है खो जाएगा. ओके, मैंने 2-3 मर्डर नहीं कर देना. ओके, इफ आई पुट एफर्ट्स, इफ आई पुट time, energy into your paper, it can't disappear like that. Notebooks are more likely to get lost, remember this. That's because it's not processing. Okay. And synopsis, I believe, must be in loose sheets. Because synopsis, bana ke karoge kya? It's not you'll make it and file and keep it for the next generation. Aise thodi hai. I mean, hope you're not doing it that way. Synopsis is a convenient revision tool. Okay. Synopsis को fold करके pack in your pockets. Whenever you are, time hai, in the metro, maybe having coffee, in the balcony, lying down, okay, take it out and, okay, revise through. I'm recalling, while walking, I'm recalling, I can't remember one point, take it out and revise through. Very good revision happens when taking a walk. Brilliant revision, I tell you. The memory is all-time high. But उसके लिए problem है, you must wake up in the morning. वो अलग जानवर का वाला काम है. And good revision happens even before you retire. Switch off the light. Okay. So your study, जो resources हैं, they must be very easily accessible. That's how I work. Like when I'm studying, if I must refer something, अगर मुझे उठ के जाना पड़ रहा है to my shelf to take it out, every possibility I will get distracted. I know my mind how it works. I get up for the book. मुझे दिखाई देगा अच्छा यहाँ पर okay, एक door भी है. I can go out. I get up to get a book. I can see, there is a phone lying there. I can use it. Okay. So I try my best not to leave my chair. Okay. So when I am studying, I'm just telling you what I do. When I'm studying, my books are around me. Now I know hadala polity. Okay. Idhar kiya to I know environment. नीचे से निकाल लिया, class notes निकाल लिया. It's very convenient for me. The same thing. The thought of I will revise and the act of revision में difference होता है material accessibility. अच्छा मुझे रिवाइज करना है. अच्छा मैं कहां से शुरू करूं, कहां पर है, ढूंढना होगा. Okay, that's where I lose my interest. When I say I want revise, pant pockets में होने चाहिए sheets. I take it out and start off. So I believe your synopsis should be in loose sheets, and the threefold helps me in folding. So today's target is I'll revise 5 chapters of something. 5 chapter, 5 sheets, or maybe 4 sheets. Fold करके pocket में है मेरे. I'm walking, talking around, sitting, discussing, whatever. So my recommendation always is write in convenient, medium to revise fast. To win a game, skills बहुत important है. But along with skills, you also need lot of other supports and attitude issues also. And I think I gave example to some of you. A very famous match. Gary Kasparov playing Vishwanathan Anand. It's a legendary match where Vishwanathan Anand was winning. Gary Kasparov defeated him. And the technique he said afterwards, I used was, I distracted Vishwanathan Anand. What Kasparov is again a giant. I mean, he is a colossal chessman. He said when Anand was making moves, to distract him, rubbing his hand, rocking his chair, get up and start walking and sit down with a big slump. I'm concentrating, right? Okay, and this guy is doing all of that. And that's how distracted him. And in Australia, they do this sledging. Sledging is very, very strategic. You're getting into somebody's mind. You are getting into somebody's nerves. Car racing, sports racing, बहुत high intensity होता है. You must zone into the driving track and drive. उसमें अगर हल्का distraction हो गया, you are lost. So, skill to definitely required, very high skill. But you require a lot of other tools to keep yourself on the focus. So, ये वो वाला games है. How to keep myself focused, not get distracted. ये hacks हैं. And the toppers use these hacks. Remember this. They have techniques how to fool their mind not to get distracted. How to bring them back. And I have stories on this because I said some ways I was lucky bolo ya conscious choice bolo. Not initially, but later on, I made it a habit to stay in company of the toppers. Okay, I was not a very good student. Fine, I will manage. I'm a smart aspirant. But I knew if I could be with guys who study well and I know the techniques, I'll beat them. So why will they take me? When I'm in a group of 3, 4 and I want to enter the group of toppers, और मुझे क्यों लेंगे वो लोग? So I used to become the scribe. I'm very good at jotting things down. So I'll tell them, तुम मत लिखो, मैं लिखता हूँ. You speak. They're very happy. हाँ, Shabbir लिख रहा है. Yes, fine. That's my usefulness, right? I would note down what they say, organize it. I kind of became their indispensable partner. And I was happy doing it. Dhire dhire I got into their group. And in that group, I learned how they study. What efforts, incredible efforts. I believe me. While we may, make fun of them, but the efforts they put in is incredible. My roommate, again, he's now a senior SP now. Okay. When he's studying, uthega nahi. His technique was, chair mein baith ke, believe me, it's a fact, I've seen this for 3 years. He would tie himself with a belt. And बांध दिया बेल्ट में, बकल को नीचे घुमा देता था कि हाथ भी नहीं जाना चाहिए मेरा. And he would sit there non-stop. Another guy, IAS officer now in Bengal mein tha for some time. He had his another hack. You know what he will do? He had a cap. He said, this is my topper's cap. वो अपने कहानी बना दिया था. तो जब ये कैप मेरा सर पे चढ़ गया, nobody on the planet can disturb me. He believed that. वो अपने आप को बोल कर. Okay, and we used to make fun of him. Okay, but he said, you got the cues right. जब मैं कैप चढ़ा होगा सर पे, nobody dare come and talk to me. Initially, we were making fun. Then we understood ये कैप चढ़ चुका है, head हो जाओ. And he can get really murderous when you. उसने वो माहौल बना लिया था. He made that environment around him. कि सचिन का कैप चढ़ चुका है. Okay, so find your own techniques, whatever works. Leave it. Yes, you saw that happening for Magnus and Gukesh also. You see that in lawn tennis, Wimbledon, intensity matches, you'll see that. I'm an old man. It goes back to 90s batch then. You want to figure out who they are. You want names? Point is, I'm on a public medium. I don't want to be using names just like that. It doesn't look nice. Okay. But you can hear those stories from me. No worries. Okay, I'm not old. Ashwata, मैं ऐसे ही बोल दिया. I know. Most of you can't keep stamina with me in running also. I know that also. आप सब बूढ़े हो चुके हो. All ankles are swollen types. I'm the young guy. Don't worry. Okay. So now please, no more questions of this kind. So physical versus human geography, you understand? And the debate resolved. The next debate was in man-environment relationship. Is environment more powerful than man? Or is man capable of modifying environment? And this debate starts from where and what are the factors that influence events and a phenomena on earth. Okay. Any phenomena. Why does volcanism happen? Why does river erode? Why do we have day and night? Okay. Why does plant germinate, grow? कोई भी phenomena, कोई भी event हो. What is the controlling factor? And is that controlling factor a matter of choice? Or is it outside something else determining it? Okay. something else determining it. I said it could be God, or something else can also be environment itself. Environment can also shape things. Like say, I said no example, the sunlight can shape the cycles of photoperiodism in plants. Water can shape some events in plants, shedding of leaf, for example. Seasons can shape flowering, ripening of fruits. So if I attribute the factors to God, we call this as teleological. If I attribute it to environment, it's called environmental determinism. Then we said, can we extend this idea that what controls and who controls the human aspects? Why do I farm? Why do I migrate? Why in some places people speak some languages, not the other? The food we eat, the clothes we put on, our own physical development, growth, what we look like, who we are. If I apply this idea to man, what controls human behaviors? What controls human choices? What controls human decisions? There can be a God. Belief a divine power controls it. Again, environment can also be a control. Or it is a matter of choice. Time wala, just I mentioned, I ignore that for now. Or it's a matter of choice. It's not factors outside man. The factors are within what man thinks. God is the teleological one. Environment ke, there are two interpretations. Environment as a factor in general, and environment as a factor the way Darwin explained it. One of you asked me last evening that Darwin itne important kyun hai in general. Okay, so some of you have done geomorphology will understand that. I'm just explaining this for the benefit of others. Till Darwin came in, dekho, when I talk about cause-effect relationship, हर चीज का कुछ ना कुछ एक cause है, and this cause can cause some effect. Science is all about this. When I don't have a cause, then I attribute it to magic, random factors, luck, destiny. Why does plant grow? मुझे पता ही नहीं क्यों grow करता है. So my reason could be God willed it. Why does plant grow? It's a magic. Something which is otherwise not like us and it's growing. I'm very amused by that. Something becomes science if I can identify the cause. One of the purpose of science is to give reasons. Achha. Cause के ना दो aspects हैं. One is a factor. और एक होता है process. How does the factor operate? Like say, energy. The factor for energy is carbohydrates. The factor for energy is the food I eat. The process is how it breaks down, energy gets stored, maybe mitochondria kicks in, okay, a glucose converted. वो जो process है, वो भी important part of cause है. My good results, I qualified examination. Factor is I studied hard. Factor is the books I read. The factor is some teacher helped me. फिर एक process भी है. Not everybody who has books will qualify. Not everybody who has a teacher will qualify. एक process है. So when I say causal aspects, I mean both. A causal aspect must have a factor. A causal aspect must have a process. Process how things happen one after another. It's like a machine working. Before science, or when science nahi hota hai, cause and factor both are God. And for God, the good thing is, God doesn't require a process. Right? God is omniscient. God can do anything. God is omnipotent. God is omnipresent. Enormous, infinite capability. Okay, उसको process थोड़ी चाहिए God को. God is the creator. He does things in flick of his finger. So as long as I believed in God as the factor, I didn't need a process. Some people try to put factors in the name of कि there is a purpose. Divine purpose है. Okay, and we have some idea about that. But slowly people realized कि God है, ठीक है, but God operates through factors. God makes life possible. The factor is oxygen. Okay, so ठीक है, अब God छोड़ो, let us study oxygen. God makes life possible. The factor is sunlight. Okay, forget God, let's study sunlight. So I have now become a bit more scientific. I know God, I may accept God, but I realize that the factors are important. Okay, but अभी भी हमें process नहीं पता था. So when Humboldt comes in or when Ritter comes in, they just say environment important है. Environment important, why? Because everything is unified. वो क्या process है? वो क्या mechanism है? Not much idea. A river, okay, will create soil. Soil is fertile. Agriculture. वो क्या process है? वो क्या method है? Okay, a river being sediments, we have soil. So I'm becoming progressively more and more scientific, but the process is still eluding me. Okay, so when Darwin comes in, Darwin gives us a process. The process is survival of the fittest. The process is we struggle, okay, to survive, and as we struggle, we develop features. Over time, I develop capabilities. Over time, I develop competencies. The competencies can be in physical changes. I had no wings, started developing wings. Because of years and years of struggle, some gene will start mutating. The fish now becomes an amphibian. Some gene mutates. Okay, the amphibian becomes a reptile. So, Darwin coming in and Darwin giving a process, the process of, okay, a life form's adjustment to environment through natural selection, through evolution. With this, what happened was, people got convinced, agar Darwin sahi hai, then I don't need God anymore. So Darwin, in many ways, was a very important pillar in establishing the credibility of scientific studies in anything. Before Darwin, people still had some doubts about the process. When say Humboldt says aesthetic determinism, तो vague है ना, efficiency. Darwin says evolution से हुआ है. Your eyes were here. Okay, slowly you started, okay, becoming agile, running, hunting. For running, hunting, you need to have a perception of depth. और depth जब ही आता है when the eyes move in the front and we have what's called a stereoscopic vision. That's why the higher life forms and the predators will have eyes in the front. Lion in the front. Herbivores side में होगा. Primates, okay, apes, eyes in the front. Okay. As my food changes, my teeth will change. First only maybe I have what only incisors, cutters. Okay, herbivores have front teeth. Then I start diversifying my food. I become, okay, maybe a predator. I develop canines. Okay, the fangs. And slowly when I start eating a range of food, I have all type of teeth. Like I have canines, I have got incisors, I have got premolars, I have got molars, and so on. So man's survival is not God's choice. Man's survival is his omnivorous diet. I can eat anything. And what I can't eat, I can cook and eat. That's your type of a social evolution. So when Darwin gives the idea of evolution, it becomes a very important pillar in science. Darwin becomes the credible basis of now dismissing God. अब God नहीं जरूरत है मुझे. How did Earth form? Slow, gradual evolution, not a magic of sudden. देखो, जब तक मुझे process नहीं पता है, I explain everything as a sudden event. Suddenly there was a planet. Suddenly there is light. Suddenly there is a landform. Suddenly life starts. But when Darwin says no, it's a slow process, will operate in time. बहुत धीरे धीरे होता है. It's millions and millions of years of evolution. It's not a magic. Adjustment, struggle, survival, dying, extinction, and a new life form originates. So that is why Darwin is an important watershed in science. That's why people who believe in Darwin, they have a serious problem in reconciling God. बहुत difficult here to accept both notions. If I am a religious man, very devoted to my religious scriptures, ideas of God, how man was made, you can't reconcile Darwin with it. So either you are on Darwin, okay, supporter, or you are. So increasingly you'll find more and more people who believe in God, उनका agenda है to dismiss Darwin. कि Darwin अगर गलत हो जाते हैं, then the God is back again. God is back in business. Okay, so Darwin became a very important development for the scientific community. A बहुत powerful idea है. Evolution, adaptation, natural struggle, mutations, and he gave evidences for it. The best part was that. Religion का एक बड़ा आसान argument है faith. जहां आपने क्वेश्चन किया रिलीजन के बारे में, faith as a word will trap you. इसे क्या बेसिस है, राइट और रॉन्ग? फेथ रखो, बस एक विश्वास है हमारा, इट्स अ फेथ ऑफ माइन, एक आस्था है. हाउ डू यू फाइट आस्था यार? हाउ डू यू फाइट फेथ? कीप क्वाइट. डार्विन सेज आई डोंट वांट फेथ, आई एम गिविंग यू एविडेंसेस फॉर इट. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Darwin was a very powerful influence. Every science wanted to borrow Darwinian idea. So Darwin was an idea in biology. It also is drawn into sociology. Okay, drawn into geography, drawn into studies of economy. You say economic evolution. कल्चरल एवोल्यूशन, जहां पे ये वर्ड यूज हुआ, एवोल्यूशन, एवोल्यूशन ऑफ नेशंस, पॉलिटिकल एवोल्यूशन, ओके, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट डार्विन. तो डार्विन के एक्सप्लेनेशंस में रैंडमनेस नहीं है. देयर इज अ प्रोसेस टू इट, स्लो, ग्रेजुअल, समथिंग हैपन, सम डाई, सम सर्वाइव, सम फाइट, सम इवॉल्व. सो व्हेन डार्विन कम्स इन, environmental determinism gets a different basis of argument now. So Humboldt, Ritter are also environmental determinists, but they're not Darwinian ones. They are pre-Darwinian ideas. When Ratzel comes in, he is a Darwinian influence. That's why Darwin's influence in determinism is called as the Neo-determinism. Determinism तो इब्न खल्दुन का भी था. Determinism is also Aristotle. Determinism was also Kantian ideas. Determinism was also Humboldt. When the voyagers are traveling and they find variations, how do you think they're explaining it? When voyagers are traveling, they see new cultures, new people. Some of them would again say God, but they are again surprised. Why? Because ये God बहुत अलग God है. The area I have come from, my God is a different type of a God. I come to a new place, वो पूरा अलग God है, but God वो भी है. So travelers must have been very, very, confused. The thinkers would have been completely lost. And just when they thought, okay, this God looks better, they find another God. And the God is even more powerful than the previous God. So most of them reconciled with, ab God hai nahi hai jane do, looks like environment is doing something. So all of them are environmental determinists. But with Darwinian explanation, environmental determinism had a whole new argument now. So that approach is called as the new determinism of geography, or some call it as the new determinism of Germany. So this idea starts in Germany. Okay, Humboldt, Ritter, Germans. Varenius, Kant, German influences. Okay, Ratzel is also German. The German is after Romans, Greeks. Germany becomes a very important center of learning. I hope I explained this to you now. And Darwin's ideas from the idea called ontography. Inorganic, non-living things as stimulus, they can elicit responses from biological beings. The evolution is one type of an ontography, how I respond to certain type of environmental conditions. Absolutely, yes. Also nahi, Darwin is the main one. For Darwin, the process का बहुत important control है time. Evolution of Darwin, ये difference है. God doesn't require time. जहां पर process नहीं होगा, no time required. Everything is a flick of a finger. Like a fraction of a millisecond, things happen. Darwin से ऐसे नहीं होता. Everything is slow, gradual. Okay, there are changes through time, modifications. So time is a very important aspect of Darwinism. Akshit, that term is used in the Marxist interpretation. Okay, and you can extend that to Darwin also. He's asking me, sir, how is it different from historical determinism? Historical, Darwin is not Marxist, for heaven's sake. Marxist का पूरा अलग school of thought है. When I use the word historical determinism, but time is a factor, yes, you can attribute that to Darwin, but that term is more used in the context of what Karl Marx is saying. Okay, in terms of economy, society, and development. No, ontology alag hai. Oh, don't enter that. I'm discussing ontography. Bhumika. Ontology is different. Did I manage to explain some of your doubts? Any queries on this? Yes, tell me. Ibn Khaldun only says that your survival depends on how you adjust the nature. Words like time is a factor, words like evolution is happening, words like mutation, वो सब नहीं है ना. Okay, so anything that tells us environment controls is not Darwin, right? My father used to say, okay, by kapde pehno according to the environment. Okay, when it's hot, put on a t-shirt. Raining, put on a raincoat. Winter, put on a sweater. Thodi, my father is a Darwinian. Got the point here? When I use the word Darwin, I mean some technical details. Okay. Ibn Khaldun only says, as long as you are not a slave of the environment, you are reading, understanding, and modifying yourself, you will survive. The day you become a sedentary dweller, you take nature for granted, you can't modify, you'll collapse. That's all. Darwinian is a technical process. Okay, Darwinian is a mechanism in terms of certain biological jargons. Evolution का एक meaning है, mutation का एक meaning है. वो सब थोड़ी जाएगा इब्न खल्दुन पे. Anybody else here? Yes. Why enter that? Okay, there is difference on that, but main factor, a factor में फंसो मत. Time is a factor, but I said Marxist is not talking about evolution. Marxists talk about okay, economic social changes as a part of an economic, okay, history. Don't bring that main factor on factor. I mean, unnecessarily we confuse ourselves. Can I move on, all of you now? Okay. So, in the discussion of, now discussing a neo-determinism. Okay. And this is influence. This is influence of Darwin. The main contributor is Frederick Ratzel. Okay. And this became the most important first major theme in geography after geography is established as a discipline. Okay. The new Darwinism, okay, or new determinism is also called as social Darwinism, because I am applying Darwin to social sciences now, or social concepts. It's also called as social Darwinism. Okay. It is the influence of Darwin. The main contributions are by Frederick Ratzel. I said 1880s and 1890s. And this is the most important first major theme in geography after geography is established as a discipline. The new Darwinism or the social Darwinism or the determinism of Ratzel, okay, the determinism of Ratzel is the most important first major theme in geography. The most important first major theme in geography after geography is established as a discipline. Okay? See why I'm saying this? Dekho, in the times of Humboldt and Ritter, geography bana. And the basis of geography was geography study of organic unity of earth. वो theme of geography नहीं है, वही geography है. Before Humboldt Ritter, there's no geography. Varenius and Kant are trying to establish geography. Hope you got the point here? It's like, you know, my grandfather had an idea. We'll make a house. Okay. My father is making the house. After the house is made, now my major theme is I want the house to look like maybe a farmhouse. I want the house to look like maybe some architecture or some type of a character. The mere character of my house is an antique finish look. Okay. So the idea of geography, the idea of house is Varenius and Kant. Geography, okay, ban gaya with the work of Humboldt and Ritter. So Humboldt Ritter के टाइम में कोई थीम नहीं है, वो geography ही है. The idea of, okay, geography is the study of organic unity of nature. Geography will converge all knowledge into one universal science, and geography will be positivist. Geography is scientific. ये होने के बाद में I am discussing कि geography में हम क्या पढ़ेंगे. Ratzel says we will study environmental determinism. Okay, how does environment impact man on the lines of Darwin? Therefore, the new determinism is called as geography's first major paradigm phase. The new determinism is geography's first major paradigm phase. Paradigm. It is geography's first major paradigm phase. What is the meaning of the word paradigm? Paradigm means one strong, a theme of study, a very strong orientation of study. It's a mindset. What is the theme of those times? आज के डेट में paradigm is maybe environmentalism. Everywhere you find a theme called environmentalism. It's the dominant thinking of the time. So, Ratzel's geography is the first major paradigm in geography. So, for the syllabus we have, we trace two paradigms in geography. ये पहला paradigm है. Okay. The second paradigm was quantitative revolution. So, the syllabus that we have, geography में यही दो को मानते हैं as a paradigms in geography. So, I'll come back afterwards on this. It's the second paradigm of geography. So, paradigm का मतलब, this is the most important thing. Everything is around this. Some supporting him, some extending his ideas, some challenging him, but तब भी यही valid है. It's like, think of Pakistan. Pakistan's entire paradigm is to justify that Pakistan as a country is a right historical event. उनका वही काम है. Therefore, justify Pakistan is the right event. They have to keep on proving India is wrong. Because if you say India is right, then our answer is तो अलग क्यों है? आप वापस आ जाओ. If whatever ideas India believes in, if Pakistan accepts that, फिर तो पाकिस्तान का वजूद ही नहीं है ना. So Pakistan must prove the idea of two-nation theory. They must prove the idea Hindus and Muslims can't live together. They must prove the idea if Muslims want development, they must have their own country. And if India believes the same thing, फिर हमने justify कर दिया इस पाकिस्तान को बनना ही था. So India as a nation, as a paradigm, we must dismiss this idea कि नहीं ये तो गलत हो गया. India is a country where all faiths can coexist. That's why India must demolish the two nations theory, and Pakistan ka existence depends on justifying two nations theory. Hope you got the point here. So whatever Pakistan does, uska existential debate hai to prove India is wrong. It's impossible Pakistan with this mindset can ever reconcile with India. So Pakistan ke liye India relevant hai. Okay, वैसे ही all those who challenge this one, the challenge makes sense as long as this exists as a strong one. There are a lot of counter arguments, but the counter arguments existed because this was a powerful idea. This idea remained a powerful idea for a good 50-60 years before some new idea again takes over. Okay, so why is the new determinism the first paradigm phase in geography? So, geography, and this, I think I mentioned that name called Thomas Kuhn. बताया था नाम, right? He says ऐसे ही होता है subjects में. First subject is a loose set of concepts. Somebody puts them together and says कि इसका एक बनाते हैं subject. Then somebody makes the subject. And once it's made, the debate starts. The first debate, okay, first Okay, idea is established. It will dominate for a long time. Then somebody will come and challenge it. They'll fight, they'll struggle. एक new idea बन के आएगा. And that will remain for some time. Then a third idea will come up. Again, challenge that idea. They'll struggle, they'll fight, debates, nasty, okay, academic confrontation. उससे फिर एक नया idea निकल के आएगा. So your life, knowledge, the world is full of these events. Okay, there will be one idea, somebody will challenge it. Agar wo powerful, it will prevail, or some new thing will come out of it. So this starts with the school of social Darwinism or the Neo-determinism of Germany under Ratzel. Something of that kind. Yes, Ojasvi, correct. Yes. Is it okay all of you here? Okay. So now we start off with what are the contributions of Frederick Ratzel. Four, 5 points. His book called as Geography, published in 2 volumes. First is 1882, volume 1. The next was 1891, volume 2. In the first volume, the study is, or the theme is, how does geography determine human aspects? Geography determines economy. Geography determines even the political history. How does geography determine human aspects? Geography as a determinant of economy and geography as determinant of political history. Somewhere we trace geopolitics to this man. This is one of the early developments in geopolitical concepts. Geography determining political history is one of the early developments in geopolitical concepts. Okay. सुन लो पहले इसको. In political geography, Ratzel's idea was, a बहुत famous example है. Okay, in political geography, Ratzel's idea was a nation or a society, maybe an empire, whatever. Okay, he calls it as the state is like an organism. He says a nation, a state, a political entity, Ratzel says, is like an organism. Okay. An organism that must grow to survive. This is one of the very important features of any living things. It must grow. For any living thing, if you stop growth, it will die. Okay, your nutrition, your breathing, metabolism, सब कुछ है because it want to grow. Okay, if you can't grow, you will die. So an organism, okay, its tendency is to grow to survive. So a state must also grow. Okay. A state must also grow, and as anything which grows, it requires space, it requires some place. Okay. So a state must also grow, and a state needs living space. जगह चाहिए. Okay. And this living space, Germany is called as Lebensraum. Okay. Lebensraum, Raum as in room, living space or living room. The state is like an organism. Like any organism, a state must grow. If something grows, it requires space. For the state, we call that as Lebensraum. Okay. For Lebensraum, a state must grow into its adjoining territories. A state must grow into its adjoining territories. If India must grow towards what? Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. Okay. The Akhand Bharat image that we have, God knows kahan tak jata hai. If Israel must grow, it will grow into Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. If America must grow, it will grow into Canada, Mexico, Greenland now. Okay. If Germany must grow into Poland, Czech Republic, into Russia. Okay. This is a compulsion. I have to grow. Fight me. If you win, you take my living space and you grow. If I win, I take your living space and I grow. Okay. That's how it's like. ये हमारा गलती थोड़ी है. If I am a state like an organism, okay, I am by instinct destined to grow. तो मेरे कंट्रोल में थोड़ी है. That's why this is environmental determinism. A state will grow. When it grows, it will clash. There will be a fight for survival. Okay. The weaker one has to yield. The stronger one will prevail. The stronger one will annex land. Again develop. It will again grow and expand. Okay. This idea inspired a German thinker called as Hochhofer. And Hochhofer was the political advisor of Hitler. A very, very famous idea, okay, that almost shaped the destiny of Europe and the world for that matter. That states and empires, political entities are like organisms. And organisms, by virtue of being alive, they must grow. ये must grow जो है, this is environmental determinism. हमारा choice नहीं है, we have to grow. And in this growth, we will have conflicts. This is your Darwinian struggle for survival. And I will annex the territories around me. Okay. This was the major justification of what Hitler was trying to do. Now, see, you know, these political leaderships, they are very smart होते हैं. Okay. For most of the political leadership, for most of them, it's a personal ambition. But they justify that in different ways. You'll not find, I mean, you can, I'm not saying no. Okay. You can find some of them saying, I want to be powerful, I want to be the greatest. Okay, I am God. Okay, ये भी एक school of thought है. but ये बाद में आता है. Initially, अरे मैं तो आपका भला चाहता हूं. Right? I'm not here for my, मेरा क्या है? Okay, हम तो झोला पढ़ के चल पड़ेंगे. Right? It is for your welfare. It is for your good. Okay. The British came to India also with the same idea. You are spiritual people. You are jungle dwellers. You are snake charmers, magicians हैं आप लोग. Colorful life है. Culture है. क्या पता आप वो bureaucracy, administration, कितना गंदा काम है. आप रहो meditation में. Leave the administration to us. They call this as white man's burden. So every leader, even if benevolent, somewhere he's driving his own agenda. And they justify the agenda by some argument, some philosophical argument. So Hitler essentially was an evil man. If I ask Osama bin Laden, वो थोड़ी बोलेगा कि मैं कुत्ता कमीना आदमी हूं. I am God's gift to mankind. भगवान ने मुझे भेजा है, खुदा ने मुझे भेजा है. Why? To fight for a spiritual, war. I am helping you, and I am demanding your sacrifice. ठीक है? It's मेरा क्या है? I can be in some corner. I don't need wealth. सब पैसा तुम्हारे लिए है. And the story builds up there. So these are examples of how, brainwash किया जाता है. And Hitler did it successfully. So when, what doesn't surprise me is that this is possible. Germany was scientifically advanced, way ahead than the others. German knowledge, German philosophy, and German history is also very, very old history. It goes back to again 3,000-4,000 years. Germans were the ones who were called as barbarians. The Romans were expanding. Romans fought the people who didn't want them. And Romans called them as jungli log. Romans, we are developed, we bring development. Who oppose us are so useless people. Germans have a history of fighting back against domination. And it takes one man to corrupt the entire society. The Jew atrocities, ये overnight नहीं होता, remember this. It happens, and happens in everybody's knowledge. Everybody knew what's happening. The best, even Britain knew what's happening. And that's the guilt, I think, that Britain tries to undo after World War II. So this was the academic, and you asking me, sir, Ratzel is responsible for World War II? Ratzel was an idea. Ratzel was a thinking. आप उस thinking क्या करते हो? You can't blame that thought, right? My thinking was, I can have something called as atomic reaction, fission and fusion. अब उसका मैं energy बना रहा हूं, या उसका मैं bomb बना रहा हूं. I cannot say, Einstein was the man who responsible for the atomic bomb, right? So Ratzel is an idea. It's a very interesting idea. I could think on this, but some people pick it up, and then whatever happened. So that's what I'm saying. This is one of the earliest examples of geopolitical theories. Absolutely. The whole idea of democracy, liberty, free trade is also one type of game played on the world by the Americans. We believed in an idea of freedom and democracy. We believed in an idea of what is free trade, fair trade. What was sold to us is very different from what was taught by us. So, those debates aside, how did Ratzel influence the political history of the world in some ways? His idea of state as organisms and the concept of Lebensraum. हाँ बताओ सूर्या, what did you miss out? For Lebensraum, a state must grow into its adjoining territories. Okay. This inspired Hochhofer. Hochhofer was the political thinker of Hitler. Yes. Afterwards. अभी धीरे धीरे आते हैं. Remember, when I use the names like determinism, possibilism, we are sticking those labels on Ratzel. Ratzel थोड़ी बोल रहे हैं कि I am a determinist. Ratzel only says this is my idea. और Ratzel और भी कुछ कुछ बोले होंगे. Right? It's like, one fine evening, I went home. I scolded my son. No playing from tomorrow. पढ़ाई करो. उसे चिपका दिया. Papa is like Hitler. I didn't come home thinking I'll be Hitler today. I went home, I saw something, I had an idea, I had one point, I told him कि कल से खबरदार बाहर निकलोगे पैर तोड़ दूंगा तुम्हारा. Papa is a violent man. और पापा ने और भी बहुत कुछ बोला होगा. All that is forgotten. ठीक है, पापा कांधे में बैठाए होंगे, पापा बिटिया का लिपस्टिक लगाए होंगे. Daughters love makeup of their fathers. Every morning I have to wake up and see कि कुछ लगा तो नहीं है. बिंदिया लगा देंगे, do this, type a ponytail. So सब is gone. For today and onwards, Papa is Hitler. वैसे Ratzel ने बहुत कुछ कहा है. This idea is so exciting, हमने ये पकड़ लिया. And we branded Ratzel as an environmental determinist. I'll come towards the question a bit later. Yes. Organism अगर है, and it must grow. इसमें क्या choice बनता है? The virtue of the fact it must grow is an instinct. Instinct is not controllable by you. Instinct is the consequence of environment's evolution. A tiger must hunt. उसके कंट्रोल में नहीं है. This instinct grows from environment's influence. Yes, yes. So, why must it grow? Then he says, because as a state grows, population requires more resources, it requires more food, it requires more raw materials. And all of this will lead to the need for more space. But starting with saying it must grow. No, it comes much later. That comes in the 1940s. So 50-60 साल बाद. Does growth necessarily have to be air expansion? But Salah, for Ratzel, yes. He's asking me, does growth necessarily mean aerial expansion? For Ratzel, it's only aerial expansion. That's why he uses the word Lebensraum. Lebensraum means I want more living space. And living space is the physical space where I can make my house, where I can have my factories, where I can have my agriculture. The living space का मतलब क्या है? Living space essentially is the place where I will live and perform my activities. Take all of you? Good. So this is the idea of Ratzel. Continue. Give a subheading, influences of Ratzel. Influences of Ratzel. Okay. So there are two main examples of influence. One is an American scholar called Ellen Semple, and another one is Ellsworth Huntington. Ellsworth Huntington. Ellen Semple, both of them Americans, by the way, both of them are Americans. Ellen Semple was a historian. Okay, she was studying American history. Okay, and she reads Ratzel's books. Then the idea that history can be shaped by geography. So then she comes to Germany and becomes the disciple, student of Ratzel. And she is the person who takes Ratzel's ideas to America, translates Ratzel's books, and writes books on how American history, the consequence of its geography. I don't know if you know this idea or not. Remember when Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, went to US, he had a showdown with Trump. Yeah, they were meeting, a very infamous one, right? And in that meeting, Zelensky said something that this problem has not reached you yet, right? But you will be impacted. Yaad hai kuch idea? And that's where Trump kind of explodes. He says, "You do not know that yet. You don't know." And then it was all chaos. Okay. And Zelensky was very right here. The reason of America's development, whatever it has, iske 4 important reasons hain. One is, America took lot of technologies from Europe. Who were Americans? The European migrants. They have brought technologies, they have brought industrial thinking processes. Okay, ये एक important reason है. It's not like they are developing from scratch. Okay, पहले farmer थे, then they became, ऐसा नहीं है. It's a imported one they got. One. Number two, large land, immense land. और large land होगा तो resources होना ही होना है. Crazy resource. In fact, the amount of oil, gas America has is not even published properly. And probably they have more oil than what we know of. Coal fields, RNO, they have it. You name it, they have it. But very conveniently, they have not used many things. पहले बाकी का use कर लेते हैं हम लोग, right? We can afford it. America has tremendous amount of land for agriculture. The prairies is a huge area of agriculture. A third important reason is because you've got migrants. Migrations always will bring risk takers and people who have innovation in mind. Because migrants are generally the aspirational people. Migrants are capable of fighting back. Migrants, they're willing to do whatever it takes. The human capital unke paas mein, the attitude to fight. And a very big point is its geographical isolation. North mein Canada has no business troubling US. South of Mexico, unki औकात nahi hai. Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. America has almost zero border disputes. It has zero border threats. Keep innovating, keep developing, all self-sufficiency. And what's the fight going on outside? अब बीच-बीच में जाकर छेड़ दो. Right? Moral support दे देते हैं. Okay. We want peace, we'll drop some bombs. Right? This is a very big reason why America has remained secluded from a lot of issues until the fight taken to Americans in the 9/11 bombing. So this is a very important reason, okay, how Americans slowly, gradually developed. और इससे इनका knowledge भी ऐसे grow करा है धीरे धीरे. They have taken ideas from the rest. Plain and simple, studying all of this. The geography of America is responsible for American history. Its resources, its climate, its isolation. It being the major center of migration destination. ये सारा ये trace कर रही है. She writes this book also, The Geographical History of America, or Influences of Environment on American History. So, देखो, Ratzel wrote in German. It was Ellen Semple who translated German and made Ratzel popular in the world. And Ratzel's book told everybody, Ellen Semple's book told everybody that Ratzel is an environmental determinist. Is it okay, all of you? Okay. So, Ellen Semple, Ellen Semple, he is a she. Okay. A lady. Ellen Semple. And Huntington also wrote some books. Two very famous books. One is The Pulse of Asia. एक और किताब था A Civilization and Climate. I mean, these are the ultimate examples of environmental determinism. Okay, I'll give the notes to you. सुन लो पहले एक minute. Yeah, Ellen Churchill Semple, correct. Now, in Pulse of Asia, Huntington writes, the history of Asia क्या है? If you know about India and our history, ancient times, who ultimately were Indians. Okay, we had Indo-Bactrians. You know Indo-Bactrians? Indo-Bactrians who came from Greece. We had Scythians, Sakas. We have Huna populations also. We have the Gujars. Okay, lot of migrants have come in India. I mean, now we call them as migrants, but when they came in, they always came in as invaders. They come in, they invade, and to settle down, all of them have taken 100, 200 years. और फिर वो हम भूल गए, because they become part of us. Like they bring ideas, they bring their cultures, we accept their culture, they accept our culture, and then we get together. Stay there for some time, a new wave comes in. They also come in as invaders. They want to expand empires. Okay, the Kushans, the Scythians, the Bactrians, वैसे ही हैं Mongols. Mongols are the populations of Central Asia. And Mongols live in semi-arid conditions and desert conditions. उनका agriculture नहीं है because not much of rainfall for crops. They are nomadic herders. They have pastures. They graze their cattle, horses, sheep, goats, cattle. They graze cattle. They are herders. So their economy depends on grasses. Okay. And whenever the grasses are not enough because of droughts and prolonged droughts, ये खाएंगे क्या फिर? So across the world history रहा है. Invaders have always come from areas which have been dry regions or not good for agriculture. Like the Vikings of Norway were invaders. उनका काम ही था raiding. हर साल जाएंगे, go raid, loot, take the wealth, take slaves, the economy runs. Okay. So Mongols वही थे. So whenever Mongols raided India, this man says the timing of raids coincides with the droughts of Central Asia. When their economy is down, no food to eat, go raid, and they never came for living here. उनका काम ही था, go raid, loot, take the wealth, textile, slaves, go back. Okay. And the reason Indians were never raiders. Why? हमें रेड करने की जरूरत नहीं थी. Rivers, fertile soil, good rainfall, lot of land. Why will we raid? For that matter, why will we even travel? Right? If my city, my district has the best college, the best infrastructure, the best hospital, okay, हम क्यों जाएंगे बाहर for education? Most of us here are what? Okay, migrants, right? Okay, and if we get violent, then we are also raiders here. So we come out because we don't have enough of resource at my place. So this man linked the invasions of Mongols with the droughts of Central Asia. He says again, climate has decided the political history of a place. And Mongols did not discriminate कि India ही जाएंगे, no. Mongols into Russia. Mongols have gone as far as Europe also. Okay. Darius, Persian kings, उनका main threat था Mongol invasions coming from parts of Central Asia, Afghanistan, raid and then again go back. But Egyptians were never raiders. Remember, Egyptians, good nice river, good soil, fertile soil, cultivation. They got raided by Romans, by Persians, by Greeks. He is linking the political history with the climate, the pulse of Asia. And in this book, he says, civilizations develop in good climate. And for him, good climate was the climate of Europe, the climate of mid-latitudes. Okay. So something like what was told by Aristotle. ये सारा जो है are influences of environmental determinism which was established by Ratzel's Anthropogeography Volume 1. Okay? So they had one question on this. Write about the contributions of Ellen Simple. आपके syllabus में determinism है. I won't be surprised they ask you write about contribution of Ratzel or write about Anthropogeography as a book. All done, all of you here? So before you start off, take out textbooks now. Let me show you some passages. Then we'll take down some notes. Take out your dictionary. Page number 73. पहले मार्क कर लेते हैं. So you have a sense of what's relevant. Okay. Page 73 in the book Dikshit. Okay, second edition. So it is now re-establishment of geography as integrated science, the study of man-land relationships. Okay, the contribution of Frederick Ratzel. Okay. Frederick Ratzel, the greatest single contributor of development of geography. Okay. Ratzel's youth past period of intellectual upheaval in the world of science, the wake of publication of Darwin's concept of origin of species. Okay, so he had written a dissertation, okay, on Darwin's theory in 1869. Darwin's idea was published in 1859. Remember this. ठीक है? Okay, the next page देखो. Next page 74, the last paragraph में. The first fruit of his labor came in the form of the first volume of Anthropogeography in 1882. Okay, and the appearance of this book marked a major event in the history of geography. In fact, it had far-reaching effect on the nature and the methodology of geography, which at that time was faced with crisis of identity. देखो, once Humboldt and Ritter are gone, then geography has lot of debates. Geography में एक type का identity crisis है कि ultimately है क्या? And to make matter worse, okay, Oscar Peschel, Gerland say remove human geography. So that 30-40 years में, after the death of Humboldt and Ritter, geography was in a state of crisis. Okay? And we say Ratzel, okay, addresses that. And the term anthropogeography was misleading in that it suggests the connotations of geography of man in terms of individuals and races. The anthropology क्या है? Anthropology is study of tribes, right? Tribes, okay, study of societies. It's saying that is not what the book was about. The book was not about races. That's why the title is misleading. Anthropogeography, okay, the book concerned the works of man as products of man's social life and relationship to earth. In anthropogeography, we are studying man, environment, relationship. It is not about individual people, tribes and races. It's about man's life in relationship to the earth. Next page. Ratzel set out to lay a scientific foundation for study of man. Okay. Therefore, some call him as the father of modern human geography. Okay, page 75, his second paragraph mein hai. And then he says, the first volume, okay, the first volume was organized in terms of the physical features of earth, which were studied in terms of their influence on human culture. The first volume is what? It's about the physical features on the earth. Earth has mountain, earth has rivers, earth has climate, and how does that impact a human culture? The central focus of this volume was to analyze how far and in what manner man's life upon the earth is shaped by the physical forces of the nature. आप अपने synopsis में ना ये उतार लेना sentences. The central theme of anthropogeography was to analyze how far and in what manner man's life upon the earth is shaped by the physical forces of the nature. Nothing but environmental determinism. Okay? Then look at the last paragraph. The first volume of anthropogeography, uska heading hi tha, an introduction to the application of geography to history. ये सारे lines important है. Okay, that this is the official heading, an introduction to application of geography to history. The book was designed to seek causes of human phenomena in the natural environment. Whatever man does, उसका cause क्या है? The cause is the environment. Okay. Clearly enough, Ratzel's approach was influenced by theory of physical environment. Okay. This one of the basic ideas of Darwinian theory of evolution. So in volume 1, he uses lot of Darwinian concepts. Next page. Okay. इसके page 75 में last line, I'm continuing from there. Okay, last line was, under the impact of the revived perspective of evolutionary biology, man had begun to be viewed something like an organism. So with the Darwinian idea, man was seen as any other life form, organism that could be studied in a way that biologists studied organisms in nature and in relation to a physical environment. This is what is called as social Darwinism. where you are studying social aspects of human life in terms of Darwin's ideas. But Darwin treats every living thing as any other organism. And in Ratzel's political geography, he described the state as an organism attached to land, which, like other organisms in nature, passes through development cycle. The state must grow or die since it cannot stand still. Like other organisms, states were conceptualized to be involved in the ongoing struggle for survival. Every state is like an organism trying to survive. The struggle manifested in states' exertions to acquire larger territories, living spaces to support their growing populations. This was the central idea behind Ratzel's Lebensraum or living space that had become so popular in Germany during the interwar years. The concept implied the right of the more powerful states to expand their territories at the expense of their weaker neighbors. आपने तो ये पैराग्राफ उठा के नोट कर लेना है. You don't need to modify the language much. What's Lebensraum? What is social Darwinism? The main theme of Ratzel's anthropogeography and how it impacted the political geography of his times. Take all of it done here. So now, look at look up page 112. I hope you all are writing down the page numbers in your class notes. सब कुछ टेक्स्ट बुक में होगा, पता नहीं होगा कहां ढूंढना है. Page 112. Contributions of Ellsworth Huntington. Yes, exactly. That's why you need me. आपने ये ढूंढ के निकालना होता तो हो जाता आपका भी 5-6 साल. Okay. You become a teacher then. My work is that. I know what's important. Syllabus उठा के show you यही वाला पढ़ लो. That's it. Okay. Huntington. He was a Davis student of Davis, Harvard. Okay, and he develops a hypothesis that the great migrations and invasions of nomadic peoples in Central Asia, resulting in Mongol conquests of China and India, and the invasions over Eastern Europe in the 13th century could be explained by dry climatic spells leading to drying up of pastures that formed the backbone of nomadic economy of Central Asia. This he presented in his theory called as the pulse of Asia. Yes. Okay. This man got interested more. Okay. He was a student of Davis, but what stops? Okay, the son becoming bigger than the father. Okay. Yeah. And then he wrote this book 15 May. This Pulse of Asia was 1907. The next book was 1915. Civilization Climate. And he advanced a questionable thesis, because this is actually racism. Okay. Civilizations could develop only in stimulating climates of the temperate regions, and that the monotonous heat of tropics had destined people of those areas to live in relative poverty. Climate decides development. Tropical areas are hot, different climate, तो वहां के लोग हमेशा गरीबी में रहेंगे. People of temperate regions, cool conditions will always be more advanced. That's why I say questionable idea. This is like an ethnocentric, racist idea. But the bigger impact was Ellen Churchill Semple. The next one. So Semple, after a master's degree in history, had gone to Germany to study geography under Ratzel. Ratzel's ideas had made a lasting impression on her historically trained mind. So that she was inspired to study American history in relation to its Earth's conditions. The result was her book, American History and Its Geographical Conditions. This was 1903. Another book was Environmental Influences Play a Key Role in Shaping Man's Life on Earth. This was about America. This was in general. And her version of the first volume of the Anthropogeography was modified, again type of rewritten, and she called it as Influences of Geographical Environment. And she is the person, it says here, Semple's place in historiography of American geography lies in the fact that she had carried Ratzel's philosophy and methodology of geography to the New World. New World is America. And had mesmerized a generation of American students by her persuasive writing, her enchanting literary style, backed by convincing scholarship. She was a great writer. I'll read a passage, almost poetic. She is a scholar of history. She knows geography now, influenced by Ratzel's ideas, and she's writing in her poetic style of writing. So her writings were very powerful writings. Anybody worth his geography will know this passage. I am reading this book, no, Influences of Geography Environment. Iska ye opening paragraph hai. The paragraph is, man is the product of Earth's surface. If you ever want to know what is environmental determinism, every sentence is here. Man is the product of Earth's surface. This means that not merely that he is a child of the earth, dust of her dust, but that that earth has mothered him, fed him, set him to task, directed his thoughts, confronted him with difficulties that have strengthened his bodies and sharpened his wits, and given him problems of navigation or irrigation, at the same time whispered a hint to solutions. The very powerful paragraph. Every geography student teacher will know at least 2-3 lines of this. This convinces how strongly she thinks about environment controls everything. Not only earth is like the mother, earth also gives him ideas, thought, gives him difficulties, gives solutions also. So how did Ellen Semple get influenced by Ratzel first, and then went on to promote this brand of geography into Americas? Otherwise, yahan tak, there is not much of American geography. From here, American geography now starts building up. As Germany declines in geography, Americans from here will start taking up the geographical thought. Is it okay, all of you here? Now, back to your notes now. Ab likho. Yeah. Simple. Somewhere gay, absolutely. Yes. Depends on kitna time or kitna words aapke paas hai. If you can write, at least write the first sentence and put 3 dots ke aage pata hai, aap time de nahi, likh nahi pa raha hu. Use it, definitely. In fact, these languages, your sentences, seedha atta marna hai. देखो geographical thought में ना 2 प्रॉब्लम आती है. One problem is concept समझ में नहीं आता. The linkages are missing. One. Number 2 problem is लिखें कैसे? Write like a technical write-up. So समझाने का काम मैं कर रहा हूं. Giving you notes. What to write? Partly notes, partly the book. In your synopsis, pick up some sentences directly and memorize it. Katta maro. And I am strictly against all of you writing in your own words. मैंने पहले बताया आपको. Own words make sense once you know the language. So mathematics में अपने तरीके से करूंगा. 2 + 2 is 5 मेरे लिए. मुझे लगता है अंदर से ऐसे ही. Some norms you can't change. The geographical thought is memorization. It will give you marks. And know the scholars, what they have done. I am also keen of the book's name, Because if I write the book's name and the year of publication, it gives my answer more credibility. Okay, it gives a better argument to whatever I want to talk about. युग पटेल, आप गलत जगह आ गए बच्चे। पीएससी इन फिशरीज करनी चाहिए या आफ्टर 12 राजस्थान कॉलेज करनी चाहिए? आपका एनवायरनमेंट कैसा है पहले बताओ। ओके, पढ़ने वाला। एक तो बेटा ऐसे डाउट्स ऑन द सोशल मीडिया ना मुझे सीरियस प्रॉब्लम होता है। यू नो व्हाई? बिकॉज एक्चुअली आपका कोई डाउट वाउट है नहीं, आपको मौका मिला, अच्छा यहां पूछ लेते हैं। ओके ना, वो डॉक्टर जा रहा है, डॉक्टर साहब दर्द कर रहा है। I had couple of students who I was walking on the street, सर एक डाउट था, बस मैंने थप्पड़ नहीं मारा था उसको। मैं कहा डाउट है और जेन्युइन डाउट है? हाँ सर जेन्युइन डाउट है। मैं कहा आराम से ऑफिस आना, किताब लेके आना, बैठा के पढ़ाऊंगा। लॉलीपॉप खाते खाते सर नो सिंपल। चाचा थी, चाची थी, मामी थी। डोंट डू दैट। पढ़ाई पढ़ाना बेटा एक टाइप की तपस्या ही है, साधना है। यू कांट फूल अराउंड विथ इट। You can have fun, absolutely. You can have fun, you can enjoy the process. But don't, trivialize it. होता है ना, एक तो होता है कि you are genuinely having a doubt, और एक है you are flirting with me. बूढ़ा हो गया हूं, मुझे मिलते 30 साल 40 साल पहले, मैं बताता क्या क्या कविता लिखता हूं मैं, पेंटिंग कर दूंगा बैठा के। अब क्या करोगे फ्लड मेरे साथ? सो नॉट दिस डाउट्स प्लीज। कायदे से पूछें, तमीज से पूछें। व्हेन आई एम टीचिंग, आई बिलीव एट लीस्ट आई टीच विद लॉट ऑफ पैशन। आई टीच बिकॉज आई लाइक इट। आई जेन्युइनली वांट टू शेयर व्हाट आई नो। तो सवाल भी वैसे ही पूछो ना। फिशरीज करें या खेती करें या और दौड़ जाओ बॉर्डर के पास में, लड़ लेना, बॉर्डर ही वहीं पर है, परमवीर चक्र मिल जाएगा आपको। ओके, सो बैक टू योर नोट्स नाउ, सम पॉइंट्स। हाँ बताओ। विच वन? क्यों? No, that destiny is not God-given destiny. When I say teleology, it is God आ गया। This destiny is the environment's control over you. क्या आपका डेस्टिनी है, आप यहां रहते हो और यही काम कर सकते हो। In that sense, not going to God. In these books, God is now out. अब God वापस आएंगे 1980s के बाद में। This is what we call as postmodernism. For good part of 20th century. So देखो, again I am digressing, but देखो, God आते क्यों in the first place? और है नहीं है, छोड़ जाने दो। One big reason is insecurities of man. डर लगता है, पता नहीं है, लाइफ कंट्रोल में नहीं है। You want hope, you are struggling against something, but when you have a purpose, you're working, putting efforts, result भी मिल रहा है, whole world to conquer, aspirational, तब गॉड नहीं आएंगे। तब तो जो हो रहा है ना, अपन ही भगवान है, राइट? We're all going fine. So good part of these years after the world wars, खासकर वर्ल्ड वॉर के टाइम में, आई डोंट थिंक उस टाइम में भी भगवान सिंह का टाइम था, बिकॉज इट वाज डाइंग। वहां पर तो बचो, दौड़ो, फाइट, व्हाटएवर। आफ्टर वर्ल्ड वॉर्स इट वाज लॉट ऑफ इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ। aspirational, decolonization, industrialization, okay, technology is happening. Now we live in times, lot of uncertainty. Okay. For example, we can't decide on ये World War III चल रहा है क्या? If you go back and trace World War II also, World War II was not a one date थोड़ी था. It started off over 4-5 years. धीरे 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 धीरे, okay, it builds up. So who knows? हाँ, World War III में है शायद. Economy is down. Avenues are less. Okay. Inflation through the roof. तो कहां से मिलेगा आपको hope और विश्वास? God. We are frustrated with ideas of liberty, democracy, because they did not deliver what it was supposed to deliver. जहां आप सुनते हैं democracy and liberty, we say it's a woke culture, right? Liberty is आज के डेट में गाली बन गया, right? Liberando बोलते हैं. It's a popular word now. I mean, okay, it's an abuse. Anybody speaking rights, equality, you're called as communist now. Commie bhi gali ban gaya, right? In today's time, what is more popular? Nationalism. Our culture 500 years ago. Why? Because आगे देखने कुछ है ही नहीं. If I ask you, tell me 20 things India can be proud of. कितना गिना दोगे आप? और सब गिनाओगे, कहीं और हो रहा है. मेरे लाइफ में कुछ नहीं हो रहा. मेरे लाइफ में क्या हो रहा है? We are the descendants of the great kings of Gupta Empire. That's my pride. क्या modernity? Look at my आलीशान mosque, grand construction. हमारे पूर्वजों ने बनाया था. तुम क्या कर रहे हो? Loss of jobs, loss of avenues, loss of hope. We derive pride from history because of that. हमारे हीरो ही नहीं बचे आज के डेट में. Our hero goes back to हमारे ग्रंथों में. आपके एलसीए बन रहा तो बन रहा, 40 साल बन गया, खत्म ही नहीं हो रहा. चाइना ने उड़ा दिया 5th जनरेशन एयरक्राफ्ट. मेरा प्राइड क्या है? पुष्पक विमान हमारे पास था. समझ में आ रहे हैं? What's happening here? We live in those times, uncertainty. In fact, this time is called as VUCA world. I don't know ये term सुना है कि नहीं. VUCA world बोलते हैं इसको. Volatile. Okay. It is you say, forget. Complex, ambiguous. I forget the words for VUCA. It's a popular term. Uncertain, yes. Okay. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. ऐसे वर्ल्ड में आपको अगर शांति चाहिए, आस्था ही देगा आपको शांति. So when life becomes complex, which we're living in right now, then again God will come back. Then God, I mean, I'm seeing this happen. Back in my times, I'm talking about 80s की बात हो रही है and late 70s. At one time I grew up. Youth meant all about rebellions. Youth was about challenging things, that thing, this thing, and the most irreligious. बाप मां परेशान, पता नहीं बच्चा क्या, हम कुछ पढ़ा रहे कुछ बोल रहा है. आज के यूथ ठीक उल्टा है. बाप मां 90s के हैं, यूथ जो है एकदम आस्था वाला बन गया. यूथ सडनली लव ऑफ पास्ट. इन आवर टाइम्स क्या पास्ट यार, आगे देखो, आईटी वर्ल्ड है, कंप्यूटर चल रहा है, डू दिस डू दैट. टुडेज वर्ल्ड ठीक उल्टा हो रहा है. यूथ इज वेरी कंजर्वेटिव. हमारे टाइम में ब्रेक कास्ट नॉर्म्स, ब्रेक रिलीजन नॉर्म्स, गो आउट. टुडे ठीक उल्टा है. यू आर मोर एंड मोर कंजर्वेटिव. You are more and more religious. Times that we live in. So, for good amount of time, we'll not have God in geography. Geography will come back. Geography में God वापस आएंगे debates में. what we call, in fact, the times we lived in, we call that as secularization times. God ko chodo, modernity, science, mathematics, your skills are more important, not your birthrights. But now we live in times when we are desecularized. Kemal Atatürk and your Erdogan in Turkey. Kemal Atatürk was father of modern Turkey. And this man, पूरा उल्टा चला गया. Okay. Same happening across the world. Europe में भी वही हो रहा है. Rise of, imagine, Donald Trump talking about Catholic faith. बच्चे इतने सारे skeletons हैं उस आदमी के कबर्ड में. What all he must have said and what all he has done. But he is the flag bearer of Christianity and Catholic belief. And how we are, turned up. Okay, so now when I'm discussing determinism, we don't have teleology now. ये बाद में आएगा, much later. Okay, so back to your notes, please, all of you. Yeah, okay. By the way, all of this is academic exercise. Emotional होके घर में बहस मत करना कोई भी. Okay. Keep quiet, listen, and you can always disagree with me. No problem. As a teacher, I would like you as thinking individuals. But before you start challenging, पहले पढ़ो, जानो first. Who has said what, in what context, what it means, क्या philosophies हैं. Okay, so please get on with it. Achha. So back to your notes now. So I said two contributors. One is Ellen Semple, okay, and the second is Ellsworth Huntington. For Semple, write down 3-4 lines. Okay. Semple wrote two books. American History and its Geographical Conditions. American History and its Geographical Conditions. In 1903. And second is Influences of Geographical Environment. Influences of Geographical Environment. 1911. Second किताब था, वहीं put arrow mark and write down. It was more of translation of Anthropogeography Volume 1. It was more of translation of Anthropogeography Volume 1. Right, next. Semple was inspired by Ratzel's works. Semple was inspired by Ratzel's works. Inspired by Ratzel's works. And Semple popularized Ratzel in America. Semple popularized Ratzel in America. Put a hyphen, important point. Ratzel of Anthropogeography Volume 1. She popularized Ratzel. And which Ratzel? The Ratzel of Anthropogeography Volume 1. Which was on environmental determinism. Okay? Second write down. Next point write down. Her famous sentences, quote unquote, man is the product of Earth's surface. Man is the product of Earth's surface. Put 3 dots, comma, closed. Establishes simple as a strong environmental determinist. Establishes simple as a very strong environmental determinist. Next, the works of Huntington. The works of Huntington, again American. One was Pulse of Asia, 1907. Pulse of Asia, 1907. Put hyphen. Writes about how droughts of Central Asia impacted nomadic Mongol tribes. Impacted the nomadic Mongol tribes, forcing them to invade and plunder. China, South Asia and East Europe. Forcing them to invade and plunder China, South Asia and Eastern Europe. Oh yes, Mongols are not Chinese. Okay, Mongols wala culture hai, Mongolia. And the Chinese king made, remember the Chinese wall, the Great China Wall kya hai? There's a wall to stop the Mongols coming inside. The Great Wall of China is to stop the marauding tribes of the Mongols, correct? Okay. So invasions as a consequence of the droughts of Central Asia. And the second book was Civilization and Climate, published in 1915. Civilization and Climate argued for how the stimulating climate of temperate latitudes helped develop civilizations in Europe. While the monotonous heat of tropics responsible for the poverty of tropical countries. Okay? So these are the contributions of environmental determinism. Mention the page number 112, 113. Then I mentioned the page of Ratzel. Ratzel was page 75, 75, 76. And summary synopsis mein uthao sentences, whatever you can, or at least keywords, with the page numbers. Is it okay, all of you here? Okay. So that's one part done. Now, isme add kar lo one important point here. Anthropogeography, volume 2. Just a reference, within brackets likh lo aap. Anthropogeography volume 2 was very different from volume 1. This was published in 1891. Volume 1 was 1882. Very different because in volume 2 में क्या था? Ratzel wrote about migrations and how migrants modify the new environments. ठीक उल्टा लिख रहे हैं आप. The first volume, it was how geography influences the social life of man. Volume 2 में उल्टा है. It's about migrations and how migrants modify the environments. I hope you can see, volume 2 is not determinism. Volume 2 is actually possibilism. And Ellen Semple didn't write about this book. She took up one part of Ratzel's work, made it popular. She herself was inspired. Okay. And because of volume 1, Ratzel got labeled as environmental determinist. After 9-10 years, he wrote the opposite version also. But that never really became very popular. Okay. But the beginnings of possibilism is here. Okay? So just put this in a bracket. Let's talk about the other approach now. The school of possibilism. The school of possibilism. The possibilism is essentially a counter theory of environmental determinism. Okay, it's a counter theory. It's a critique of. It is a critique of environmental determinism. According to possibilism, man is not a slave of environment. Man is not a passive reaction to environment. According to possibilism, man is not a slave of environment. Man is not a passive reaction to environment. So we are not actually reacting to stimulus. We experience an event, we think about it, okay, we make our choices. So we respond after thinking. ये difference है between a reaction and a response. Man is not a slave. Man is not passive. Okay? Man is an active agent who operates through choices. Man is an active agent who operates through choices. A very famous scholar, okay, a very famous scholar called as Faber, F-E-B-V-R-E. Faber said, okay, there are no necessities. There are only possibilities. When I use the word necessity, it looks at environmental determinism. There are no necessities. कोई necessary नहीं है कि पक्का यही होने वाला है. There are no necessities. There are only possibilities in man's interactions with the nature. Weber, F-E-B-V-R-E. FEBVRE, Faber's ideas. तो कहते हैं environment आपको बहुत options देता है. The environment offers possibilities and we choose what we think, okay, is appropriate for us. The man is not a passive recipient of environmental stimulus. Man is a conscious responder to the options offered by the nature. Okay? Now, give a subheading, a tracing possibilism. Tracing possibilism. Number one, the ideas of Plato. याद आ रहा है? Plato was a cryptic possibilist. याद आ रहा है? The number one, Plato. Plato as crypto possibilist. As crypto possibilist. Okay. Within bracket mention, man as agent of destruction of Attica. Man as an agent of destruction of Attica. Yeah, correct. Who said that? Cressil said that. Correct. Plato as a crypto possibilist by Cressil. K-R-I-S-E-L. Cressil. One. Number two. Possibilism in ideas of Kant. Possibilism in ideas of Kant. देखो, in Kant's ideas, हालांकि not established like that, what Kant does is, in chorology, both environment and man are important. And in chorology, he does not tell us which is more superior. It's almost like man and environment are at equal footing. He said, I will not take sides. जो कि थोड़ा बहुत दिखता है sides in case of Varenius, remember? Environment is relatively more important than human aspects. So some say that we can see some element of possibilism or trace of possibilism in ideas of Kant's chorology. Write down. In Kant's chorology, man and environment have equal significance. Man and environment have equal significance. And nowhere does he argue for environment as the dominant control. Environment as the dominant control. Next, early French scholars, next point, yes. Next example. Early French scholars were largely determinist, but some of them had traces of possibilism too. Again, the same man, Montesquieu. Remember Montesquieu? Or Montesquieu, whatever, however you pronounce it. Now, this man accepted that while, yes, climate can control, okay, behavior, he also accepted man has free will. Okay, ठीक है. climate can predispose me towards crimes. Because zaruri nahi hai that I will be a criminal if I come from hot, warm, humid areas. Okay. So if I look at only this idea, I say this looks like environmental determinism. But this idea that man has a free will acknowledges man can choose. Okay. Write down Montesquieu or Montesquieu, Montesquieu. Montesquieu acknowledged man has a free will. Acknowledged man has a free will. Next one. Again, Buffon. Lot of work of Buffon. Again a French scholar. This looks like again determinism. Okay. Write down. Buffon also expressed that. He also expressed that man can change the face of earth. Man can change the face of earth and develop civilizations. Man can change the face of earth and develop civilizations. And that man was not compelled by the climate. And that man was not compelled by the climate. Compelled, yes, force. Compelled by the climate to react in uncivilized ways. To react in uncivilized ways. Okay, yeah, early, before possibilism happened, these are some ideas. Achha. The next one is Ratzel. Now, this I will discuss a bit more. Dekho, I said no, Ratzel did not do his work with the intention of promoting determinism or possibilism. Ratzel's idea was, in geography, let me study man-environment relationship. This was the theme that he wanted to pursue. कि geography में, जैसे Humboldt Ritter के times में, geography's focus was all knowledge is unified. Earth is where all knowledge ultimately converges. And this unification is natural organic unity. This is what they wanted to do. Ratzel says, you know, geography's purpose is study man-environment relationship. Now, in this relationship, there are instances when environment decides what man does. Okay, and this inspired by Darwinian ideas of evolution adjustments. But many places, it is man who modifies the environment. And he could not have written both at the same time. The pehle research kiya, he gave us volume 1. Very powerful idea, interesting ideas, inspired scholars. Okay. By volume 1, his reputation is made. Now he writes the other side, but people don't talk about it. So actually, Ratzel cannot be slotted as a pure determinist. That's why I repeatedly said this, no? Alan Semple's idea of Ratzel was essentially the Ratzel of volume 1, not of volume 2. Yeah, kind of kritika. Therefore, in human lives, you're right. There are instances when events are deterministic. But there are instances where we do make choices. So I cannot slot man entirely as determinism. I cannot slot man entirely as possibilism. वो ultimately हम बोलेंगे. This division is ultimately not correct. Okay, but I'll develop that first. Okay, so Ratzel of volume 2, and volume 2 में इनका idea यही था that I am studying, Ratzel was studying the distribution of man and his civilizations. In the distribution, he says, a very important role is migration. And when we migrate, he said this, he says, when we migrate, we carry with us our memories. We carry with us our cultures. We carry with us our way of life. So when we go to a new place, we modify the new place not in terms of what environment decides, but in terms of what my culture teaches me. Okay, so I have gone from India. I have a way of life. I think of something. Like I have seen some species. I lived with some thoughts. I go to US और US में भी घर के बाहर मैंने तुलसी का प्लांट ही लगाना है. Tulsi is not US, right? US is pine trees. US is maple. US has Douglas fir. My culture tells me Tulsi is superior. I have transformed the environment according to my culture, my ways of life. I hope you got the point here, all of you. Okay. So, migrants carry with them their cultures, and when they modify the landscape, the new landscape, he says, is the cultural landscape. Okay. So, I go from my culture, my type of house, my type of temple, my type of food, and the new place grows those things, and that becomes the new environment of the place. The cultural landscape is, the landscape means what? Whatever is around me. And it has imprints of my cultures. Okay, the house I build according to my architecture. So imagine, okay, when the Mughals came from Persia, what did they bring with them in terms of cultures? Right? They brought the Persian architecture, the Indo-Saracenic architecture, Charbagh gardens, the fountains, they brought with them. Okay, when Indians have gone to Europe, we've carried our cultures. Now European cities have temples, like they are celebrating our festivals now. Diwali becomes a part of 10 Downing Street, isn't it? Okay, so we carry our cultures and we modify the landscape. This idea of Ratzel became the basis of the philosophy of possibilism. Okay, the 2 lines on this, please. Okay, in Anthropogeography, volume 2 of Ratzel, in Anthropogeography, volume 2 of Ratzel, the theme was to study how migrations and cultures modify and influence environment. How migrations and cultures modify, okay, and influence environments. According to Ratzel, migrants carry with them their memories. Migrants carry with them their memories, their traditions, their skills, and their ways of life. Carry with them their traditions, their skills, and their ways of life. Ways of life, bracket में लिखो, is a French word, genre de vie. Genre de vie का मतलब होता है ways of life. Essentially means culture. Migrants carry with them memories, their traditions, their skills, their ways of life, their genre de vie or ways of life, culture. Okay, that modifies the local environments. That modifies the local environments, creating cultural landscapes. Creating cultural landscapes. तो ये बहुत पावरफुल टर्म है, कल्चरल लैंडस्केप. इनफैक्ट 1920s में we'll have an American scholar by the name of Carl Sor. Carl Sor will say geography is study of cultural landscape. अभी वही डिबेट चल रहा है, ज्योग्राफी है क्या? Geography is chorology. Geography is studying organic unity of man, of earth. Geography studies man environment relationship. इसमें determinism भी है, possibilism भी है. And Carl Sor says geography is study of cultural landscape. And cultural landscape का मतलब होता है the environment along with the imprints of human activities. So don't just study the forest along with the road that man has made in the forest, along with the dam that man has made in the forest, along with man probably lives as tribes and communities in the forest. Okay, so यहीं पे add कर लो within bracket mention. In 1920s, Carl Sor, C-A-R-L-S-A-U-E-R, Carl Sor defined geography as the study of cultural landscape. The study of cultural landscape. I'm just trying to, देखो, geography, simply put, study of earth as the home of man. Agree. In this, we study how environment shapes man. Environment shapes my food, my agriculture, shapes the clothing, my language, whatever. Other guy says, ठीक है, fine. But we also study how man impacts environment. How does man impact environment? He makes roads. He makes factories. He makes cities. Okay. So, यहाँ पर हम पढ़ रहे हैं environment and things like diet, food as a consequence of environment. यहां पढ़ रहे हैं what has man modified? Man has modified and made roads. Man modified, made agriculture. Man modified, has industries. We also study culture also. Because my culture says eat rice. When I go to US, I start rice cultivation. My culture says put on cotton. So I go to Siberia, find ways how to grow cotton there. My culture says, this tree is auspicious. I go to Norway and plant my tree as the new tree, which is auspicious. So geography does not study impact of man and environment alone. It also studies culture. और culture क्या है? Religion. Culture is languages. Culture is our ethnic diversity. Culture is India's caste system. Now you know the scope of geography, right? Okay. So still somebody said culture भी important है. हम ये पढ़ते नहीं थे geography में. Now look at the geography syllabus now. Because language is a very important medium of how culture gets transferred. How do we communicate? How do we talk? How do we interact with one another? Language ही तो है. Language is the medium of how a thought gets transferred. हम geography में अब ये भी पढ़ रहे हैं. So Carl Sawyer establishes this. Geography is the study of cultural landscape. Is it okay all of you here? Okay. There's one last point here. Write down. इसमें बहुत questions हैं. Yes, you're right. In fact, most questions in geographical thought are around cultural issues. Because वही आपका dominant theme around us right now है. और language problem जो चल रहा है अभी, तमिल, कन्नड़ा, मराठी, हिंदी, okay, English, whatever. This is a geographical concern. Okay, you talk about caste issues, part of society, again geographical concern. Okay, write down. The next one, ये Ratzel हो गया, ठीक है? The next write down. It is Vidal, a French scholar. Vidal Blache, B-L-A-C-H-E. It is Vidal Blache or Vidal who is considered as the founder of Possibilism. It is Vidal who is considered as the founder of Possibilism. In his 1920 book, Principles of a Human Geography. Of course, he wrote in French. In his book, Principles of a Human Geography. And Vidal, okay, gives the credit to Ratzel's Anthropogeography Volume 2. Vidal gives the credit to Ratzel's Anthropogeography Volume 2 as the basis of his possibilism. As the basis of his possibilism. I'll take few more minutes, please. Just help you mark ताकि एक completion हो जाए. Dikshit, page number 76. Yeah, I don't think I'll have time to open up Majusan today, but ठीक है. 76 किताब page देखो. I left out some parts of Ratzel. Okay. So look at this paragraph, the second last paragraph. The second volume of Ratzel's Anthropogeography, 1891. The second volume carried the subtitle Geographical Distribution of Mankind. मिल रहा है आपको ये वाला? Okay. The focus has shifted from the physical environment to human groups. In attempting to explain geographical distribution of cultural phenomena, Ratzel now paid attention to the role of migrations in the diffusion of cultural traits. He says, migrant societies carried their memories, traditions and skills with them so that the pattern of life adopted in the new area of inhabitants resulted from two sets of forces. One from the local environment, okay, and the other, the remembered culture and technology. The type of life I live, the consequence of two things interacting. The environment local है, वो interact कर रहा है with my cultures. Okay, look at the next paragraph. It says, Ratzel was first geographer to clearly formulate the concept of cultural landscape, okay, which often referred as the historical landscape, since it is really a palimpsest of preceding historical phases of human occupancy. You have one more point here. In the previous page, dekho. The previous page, the last but one paragraph, the second volume of Ratzel's Anthropogeography was written from the reverse perspective. The first volume was how environment controls man. The second volume had a reverse perspective. Okay. The first volume rather than second became more dominant input. People knew the first volume more. Okay. That despite the second volume, Ratzel came to identify by general geographers of human geography. Okay. This was a source of long erroneously held belief that Ratzel had advocated for deterministic view of human geography. Ab theek hai? Because his first volume became popular. This was the reason why Ratzel was erroneously thought, galat tha ye, that he is the propounder of determinism in geography. Actually, he talks about both ideas. Ye do page hai, then one more sentence here. Page number 91. So, page number 92, sorry. 92. 91, it's developed in France. It talks about Vidal de la Blache. Look at page number 92. I'm just reading out here. So, Vidal is considered as the father of possibilism because he developed the whole idea. Okay. But inspired by something, he says, look at the second paragraph, beech mein dekho ye wala, it says, it was not Ratzel of the first volume of Anthropogeography, but Ratzel of second volume that attracted Vidal. Vidal कहते हैं खुद कि second volume से उठाया ideas. Okay. He was drawn to Ratzel's concern with geographical distribution of man and the role of migration in man's adjustment to nature. This basic concept became the central theme of Vidal's own concept of possibilism, which held that nature sets limits and offers possibilities of development, but the way man adjusts to natural conditions, okay, is largely a function of his own tradition and mental structuring. Nature आपको option दे देगा, nature आपको boundary दे देगा, but what you do is your culture. The same environment may carry different meanings to people with different genre de vie. According to Blache, culture is a basic factor in determining which of the many possibilities in the natural environment should be selected by a given community. Is it okay all of you here? So, आपके आंसर में अगर इतना लिख लोगे आप, that's it. Okay, the 2-3 points I've given in sequence, and they ask you Vidal, these 4 lines. You can't write more than this. ये काफी है आपके आंसर के लिए. What was the idea? अच्छा, now add one point in your notes. Add करो. अच्छा, एक बात बताओ. 2 questions. One is, I know it's a longer stretch, but पढ़ के आया हूं, भूल जाऊंगा कल तक. ठीक है, बोल लेने दो मुझे. Let me finish it off. Yeah? ठीक. So, when we talk about cultures, can cultures be same over large areas? Can cultures be same over large areas? Can our language be same over large areas? Can our faith be same over large areas? No. Culture is a very local thing. बेटा आप बिहार से राजस्थान जाएंगे ना, हिंदी समझ में नहीं आएगा आपको, गाली भी समझ में नहीं आएगा. Okay, your Bhojpuri, okay, your Madhubani, Maithili, very different from Braj Bhasha, different from Haryanvi, Rajasthani. Now though they have claim and status as India's languages under the schedule of languages. वही हिंदी का वेरिएंट मराठी है. Languages दिल्ली में, okay, South Delhi language not same as North Delhi language. It'll vary. Languages is very, very local. वैसे food also. Okay. ORN में you start moving from Karol Bagh towards Shankar Road. Your shops will change in terms of food. Culture is a very local thing. Okay. We are proud of culture because we grew up in that. Culture varies very, very fast. Achha. Therefore, when I study cultures, can I make laws? Can I make laws in geography? No. अगर कल्चर पढ़ना है, culture is a study of large areas or small areas? Small areas. So, method of geography will now become descriptive methods again. तुम्हारे यहाँ पर? So, as long as we had commonalities and I was studying physical geography, I was okay with making laws. I was okay with making generalizations. But jahan geography shift hua towards cultures, local preferences, human choices, geography will move towards regional and it will become now more descriptive. So, possibilism jo hai, it will be general approach or regional approach. It will now become a regional approach. Is it okay all of you here? So, ये debates रहेंगे आपके geography में. Okay. It all depends on ultimately what you are studying. Just add one point here. Under possibilism and the growth of cultural landscape studies, under possibilism and under the growth of cultural landscape studies, geography is regional in nature. Geography is regional in nature and geography will be descriptive. And geography will be descriptive. You debate आ रहा है various time से. Can geography make laws or not? It all depends on what are you studying. As long as you study physical geography, ठीक है. Study generalizations, law making. If you move towards possibilism, cultural landscape, you can't have laws. अच्छा, एक बताओ, in terms of cultures, what do you think is a small region where culture may be same? वो region को क्या बोलोगे आप? Villages. Okay, villages are the smallest size regions where you will have some homogeneity of culture. Okay, villages को फ्रांस में बोलते हैं pays, P-A-Y-S. Okay, so possibilism started studying a regional approach because of the concept of pays studies in a French geography. Right now? Okay. Under possibilism and cultural studies, villages within bracket pays in France, villages or pays in France became the basis of regional studies. Became the basis of regional studies. ठीक है? The possibilism by nature is promoting geography is regional and geography is descriptive. Yeah. Yes. It's your choice how you want to sustain it. We have technology. वो भी कल्चर का पार्ट है. Technology can help you grow anything anywhere. Okay, guys, that's for today. Tuesdays you have your case studies. Okay, so sit through if you can. Okay, इतना भी क्या थके हो? Let's maintain that pattern. Yes, Himanshu. Good, good. You understand that. Do I know Tamil? Akash, yes. Vanakkam and Sapad. I also know Tani Kundava. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah, other link for case studies. Yes.